One of the things that I get asked a lot is how do I go about opening an iPad? What are some tips and tricks to opening an iPad for an internal repair, whether it's a battery, a charge port, something on the motherboard, etc. How do I do that without cracking the screen? So today I'm going to go over some tips and tricks of things that should help you open up these iPads without breaking them. Let's get into the video. Opening up iPads can be tricky due to the nature of the adhesive, the sensitivity of the display and backlight, along with some of the components that are adhered to certain parts of the glass. A tool that I think every tech should have access to is this tool right here, as it basically allows you to open up every single model of iPhone without issue. It's relatively inexpensive, but today I'm going to show you how I utilize this, which isn't designed for iPads, to help me open an iPad in a very easy way. So let's get started. And now we're going to take a look at this tool. Now, as you can see, if I stick this all the way up there to the top, it doesn't quite fit. But if I take a screwdriver and take out these two screws and pop this guy off, all of a sudden, this moves a little bit further. Now I can slide in the iPad and it actually fits. I'll lower the arm, engage the suction. I'll compress on the little metal piece here just a little bit, and we'll start to twist the screw, and eventually it'll start to engage with the frame. And if I keep working that, all of a sudden I start to see that I get some lift, and you can actually start to see a bow in the screen now. And I can tell that I'm the first one in this because it would be opening up a little quicker. There'd be some opening down the side there, but as I watch it and I wait, there's actually a gap starting to form right where that suction cup is. I'm going to twist it a little bit more, and then I'm just going to wait patiently, and you can actually start to see the screen is already lifting right there, slowly coming up. And I'm doing this without any heat, without any alcohol, without any assistance, just the suction cup and a little bit of tension on the screen. Now I'm going to take a thin plastic piece. This is an OCA protector, and I'm going to gently stick it in and try to convince the adhesive to let go a little bit more by basically cutting through it. And then once I've got it inserted a little bit, I can use it to gently slice through and relieve some more of that tension on the screen. Now I'm going to leave one of those plastics inserted. We'll let go of the suction, and I'm going to slide to a different section, and we'll do this lower half now. Push it in, engage the suction, and let's start to lift again. And then I can do the same thing on this side. Just gently get under there and slice following that same adhesive separation. And by doing it this way, I find that not only do I keep the adhesive intact, it's also easier because I don't have to worry about any cleanup, especially if I want to just go ahead and do a charge port or battery or something where because I'm not affecting the adhesive in the same way I would if I was using alcohol. It's all splitting away nicely and keeping on one side of the screen or the frame, making it so that it'll be easy to close up, as the adhesive will basically be as good as new. Now that I like how far down I've gotten on this side, we'll relieve the tension, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing on the top side. We'll slide it on up, put some pressure on things, making sure they're nice and aligned. Engage the suction, and we'll put some tension on the screen, opening up that gap for me to slide in the plastic and continue cutting towards the top. Now that I'm satisfied with that, I'm going to go ahead and disengage the suction, and I've got that plastic piece inserted here to kind of hold my position there. Now we'll flip it around, and depending on the model you're working on, this is the iPad Pro 10.5, which means that it has those short cables right here, so I can lift both sides up, whereas some of the iPads you'll have the connectors on one side, so you have to account for that. I'm going to go ahead and slide it on up, line it up, lower the suction, and we'll repeat the process. Push down, put some tension on it, and slowly lift, keeping the pressure. The iPad doesn't slip past the metal. And then we just wait with a little bit of bowing there until we start to see it split. Adding a little bit of heat will help, but I wanted to show that this is totally possible without the heat. Because every once in a while as techs you find yourself in a position where you may not maybe your heat plate or your heat gun stops working. What do you do if you can't figure out how to do the repair? So learning how to do it with the minimum tools required, just in case you ever need to, in my opinion, is the right way to go. And while we're talking, look, it's starting to split. So we'll wait for it to lift a little bit more, and I can insert the plastic, and we'll slice up the side, opening up that gap decently there. I'm going to continue this all the way up to the top and to the bottom, and then we'll move on to removing the top section so we can fold this up in the way that it's supposed to. Alright, so now we've got the plastic keeping it from re-sticking all the way down from the bottom on both sides, all the way up to kind of the top area. Now what I'm going to do is we'll set the iPad back in the jig towards the top. We'll close it on down, and I'm going to line it up in the center, and we'll engage the suction, and then we'll put some tension on it, and we'll patiently wait for there to be a small gap here. This is a perfect place to start introducing heat if you have a heat gun. As the sides are so easy to get up, it's not really required. But the adhesive is thicker, as you all know, up at the top and at the bottom. It holds on a little bit better. So I'm going to take my hot air gun on 200 Celsius with the low airflow, and we're just going to warm up the top gently back and forth. And I can start to see a little bit of movement after only 30 seconds or so. Right here there's a small gap appearing. We'll keep on going with the heat. Take a piece of plastic and we'll slide it in that gap, and we'll assist it in its separation as we continue to warm it up. And we'll slice through over to one corner, and then we'll come back and do the same thing, go in the other direction. And then eventually you'll get to the corner and it'll start to lift away. And then we'll do the same on the top side, just cutting through that little bit of adhesive that's left so that it wants to also pop away. And now the sides and the top are free, and I can kind of let gravity do its thing here. And of course, one thing that really helps is a little bit of heat. So we'll warm up the bottom just a little bit, and then we'll let it fall away in a controlled manner. I'm going to put a little bit of tension on the screen. I'll be able to slice through the bottom section. Now we have the screen up and in a position where I can take out the two screws. Always awkward at this angle. You can always take just a little bit and use it as well to put them back as well. That's how I like to put them back if I don't have my short screwdriver. I'll literally just take the bit and we'll loosen the screws, take out the bracket, and gently disconnect the display flex cables. So yeah, I'm definitely the first one in this iPad. Now that you've seen how easy it can be to open up an iPad, it's time to replace the battery. And I want to hear from you guys, what are some tips and tricks that you have to take out the battery, as they're not always the easiest thing to remove. So comment something down below. We have 10 screws holding down this plate, the battery screw, and 4 screws on the charge port. I'll take those out real quick. Alright, now that all those screws are out, we can remove the shield. And the easiest way to do it, so it doesn't warp too much, is you grab here at the top, you pull towards the top, and you pull up at the same time. So you're pulling that direction and slightly up. And if you do that, it'll pop up without warping, just like that. There's a small warp, but it's nothing compared to what a lot of techs do, where it'll really banana out. On this model, we have 4 connectors at the top. This little one right here, 2 coax cables, and the speaker connectors down here. Now, contrary to popular belief, alcohol doesn't solve everyone's problems. However, in this case, it's going to be our best friend. We're going to flood the underside of the motherboard, go along the edge here. Alcohol really help loosen up the adhesive. You can put the whole thing on a heat plate. In fact, removing the battery with a heat plate does help. It isn't necessary though. We'll get out a spudger and all that. I like to start right here, gently wedge it under. There's not a lot of circuitry right here. And the first place you slide in is going to flex the most. Now that I've got it under there a little bit, I'll grab another spudger and we'll go on the other side and we'll get this top side lifted a little bit too. And then once that top section is out and cleared of the connectors, we'll add some more alcohol and we'll let the tension of the spudger naturally pop the board up for us. Slide the spudger down, adding more isopropyl alcohol. That way I'm not flexing the board really anything at all, and it'll automatically start to lift, and then the port will come out just like that, nice and clean. At this point, I could replace the charge port if that was the reason I was getting into this iPad, or I can turn my attention to the battery. One of the techniques that I like to use is alcohol, and I'll go straight back to using the same plastic that helped me separate this display. This way I ensure that I have zero potential for poking the battery, causing issues with, poking the battery with some metal. One thing I recommend for cleanup of the adhesive is to have a tool like this. Take it and literally lift up the adhesive for you. And then you're just left with little balls of adhesive. And then a small amount of residue can simply be wiped away with acetone and a clean room wipe. That way you have a nice clean surface to adhere the battery to. And I'm going to quickly go ahead and do that on the others. And if you go over it with the acetone first and just to kind of moisten it a little bit, it comes up a lot faster. Now it's time for the new battery. We'll get out our new Amcentrix battery and we'll take it on out, pull off the protector, the adhesive, and now we'll line up the battery with the little pillar down there and we'll push it on through. And then I like to take the padding from the old battery and put it back as well, just like that. Alright, once we have the brackets and screws back in, I've got the battery isolated. We'll go ahead and connect up the display with these awkwardly short cables. If you're careful at peeling them away from the back of the display, you can get a little bit more wiggle room, but that's a little risky. There's the first two connected, and the third one, and the fourth one. Now we can take the bracket back up, and we can hand tighten the screws nice and tight on each one. Now I'll gently angle it off to the side here, just a little bit so I can pull out the battery protector, and we'll screw down the battery screw. And then we can check and see if we have power. Go ahead and hold down the power button. We've got our bright screen. We can go ahead and line up the bottom, line up the top, and that is how you can quickly and easily replace the battery. And there we go. And there we go. It's all back together again with a new battery. If you found this content useful, hit the like button and subscribe to make sure that you don't miss out on future videos like this. If there's something that you'd like to see in a future video, let me know as well. Thanks a ton for watching. We'll see you in the next video.